Hi there. Welcome to Creation Station Monthly. This is our monthly show where we spend about a good hour talking with two creative people who have never met before about a topic that they're both interested in. And today we're going to talk about travel agents. As always, if you want, subscribe to us, creationstation at broward.org, about any of these topics and stuff like that. I've got two very fun people on today. AJ, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Doing
Give
great.
us a quick nutshell about who you are, and then Kristen, you follow up and give us the nutshell about who you are.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Mexico. I'm the middle child, I guess. You can consider that. Now I'm the oldest child, but I have two brothers, two younger brothers. Have really great relationship. We talk smack to each other a lot. I'm the mother of three kids. I live and have lived for the past 19 years in Garland, Texas. Moved into the United States in 2001. And up to that point, that was like the farthest I had traveled
Wow.
from my homeland to my new land.
Wow.
So,
Tell us about it, Kristen.
Yeah, so my name is Kristen Rodriguez. I was born and raised in South Florida, specifically Miami. I currently work full time as a youth services librarian at the Alvin Sherman Library. And a year ago, I started my travel agency, Key to Fun Vacations LLC. I specialize in family, multi generational travel, theme parks, and cruises.
It is a very different experience for both of you, and I really want to hear. Number one, we're going to get rid of the big misconception out. Let's just throw the stupid question out right away. Hey, we've got Google. I've got Kayak. Why do I need anybody else to tell me how to make a vacation? Go.
okay, so let me tell you something that just literally happened last week. So I had customers that traveled to Punta Cana, and they were like literally one of those customers that are like, "Hey, we want a last minute vacation. We're ready to go. Can you help us?" And so we literally talk about it on Thursday, booked the trip on Friday, and then they left a week after, right? And while they were on the way back, like the vacation was really nice and everything, they loved it. But when they were on the way back, their flight got delayed, and they were trying to figure it out what was right because the website had one thing, the app had a different thing, and obviously their paperwork had a different thing, right? And so they were trying to figure out what it was. So I got on the phone, and I was on the phone with the airline for about an hour until someone was able to give me an answer. And what people don't understand is that if you don't have a travel agent who will do that for you, who knows how to reach the right person, who will advocate for you, right, you will be that person who is already frustrated, who already have no clue what's going on the phone trying to figure it out and answer and resolve the problem. What I tell my customers is like, my job is not just to plan your vacation, but also bring you back home. Right? Like it is important for me that you come back home, that you make it safely, and that once you're home, you said like, I loved it, like I had a great experience, whatever, but I need to make sure that you make it home.
Yeah, I agree what AJ said about, when things go wrong, when we've seen so many flight delays and cancellations recently. And if you don't have a travel agent to help you, you're on your own. I would even say, even when things go like right, sometimes there's conflicting information. And I remember I've helped people go on a cruise, and what they saw on the cruise line website said one thing, but then like they would try to call support and they would get a different answer. And so I had to be there to kind of clarify what was correct and just assure them that they had their full package with Wi-Fi, drinks and whatnot. Because if you're on your own, you don't have that expert who specializes in these destinations, these experiences, to kind of help guide you. And as AJ said, bring you home.
Yeah. And here's another thing, Bob, is like, you as a consumer, right, as a person who's going on a trip, you have this understanding that when you call the 1-800 number for the specific supplier that you're gonna travel with, right? Say, for example, beaches. If you call somebody for the beaches resort and you're assuming that the person on the other end of the line knows what they're doing. Okay.
Right.
As travel agents, we have learned that a lot of the times when we're making the phone call to speak with these specific providers, we are training them on stuff that we have spent hours and hours and hours learning about, because they have no idea. They have never had that happen to them before. It's a specific situation, the exception to the rule kind of thing, and they don't know how to work with. So one example, I was on a cruise at the end of last month, and I had 11 cabins with me. We were celebrating our seniors graduation, right? And so there was a lot of us, and I noticed on my app they were charging me for gratuities, but I prepaid them, right? So I went to get services, and I am talking to the lady, and I said, hey, like, the gratuities are showing on my app, but I already prepaid them. So, like, can you fix that? And the first thing that she said was like, oh, it looks like your travel agent didn't do the right thing. And I looked at her and I said, well, allow me to introduce you to my travel agent, which is myself. And I said, and I have 11 cabins in here, and I make sure that everybody had their gratuities paid. So can you pull out my account? And so I show her, and my account showed that there was a credit in there. And I said, do you see that amount in there? And she's like, yeah, but it doesn't say gratuitous. And I said, but it is the gratuitous. When you add it up, it's the exact amount. I select the gratuities, it processes the payment. And I'm like, you should just like go ahead and apply it, right? And she's looking at me and she's like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, I shouldn't have a credit on my account, right? Like, it was for my gratuities. And so I reached out to everybody who was on the cruise, and I said, hey, if you see this on your app, please make sure, you know, that it is for the gratuities. And if it's the $18 for every day, you know, we'll go to customer service and we'll make sure that it gets taken care of. And I did explain to them, it's like they will say your travel agent didn't do the right thing. And I said, and you're going to have to say the exact same thing that I told them, because this is wrong. And I did tell the lady, and I said, I don't appreciate you telling my customers when they come here that I did the job wrong.
And it calls back to what you were saying about advocacy, because we have to make sure that we like know exactly what should be happening. So if something like that goes wrong, and I do remember I had a similar situation with my clients' cruises, and I applied the package that has all the things included, including gratuity. But then when they logged onto their app that the cruise line had, it wasn't showing. And so they started getting nervous, and they were, you know, in a little bit of a panic, and I had to reassure them. And then I had to call several numbers to get to speak with a person who actually specialized in the kind of travel that they were doing. And it helps when we as travel advisors also have close relationships to our business development managers, BDMs. I find that when I have questions or where things are unclear, I want to make sure that I am accurately presenting the information to the client. So we have that support from BDMs to make sure that they have the trip and the vacation that they're looking for.
Okay, so, am I like out of touch when I say travel agent then? I should be saying travel advisor?
It is both. It is both.
Okay.
One thing is the same as the other.
I would say that colloquially we say advisors to kind of give that idea that we don't just do the bookings, we actually help build the itineraries, provide support. So you might hear advisors, but
okay, I can make that adjustment, I think. So tell us about how you get into this field. Kristen, I mean, I am guessing from the way both of you have been talking, I can't just like put up a website and say, hey, I'm a travel advisor, come talk to me.
Yeah. And
at least I'm not supposed to.
I would say it took a long time for me to kind of get into the industry. I love to travel myself. I did study abroad. So when I was in college, I caught the travel bug, and I immediately started going to all these different places that I didn't get to go to as a kid. And I will say, I wasn't thinking about a side gig or a business for a long time, but life happens. And I knew that it was time for me to increase my income. So I started doing kind of introspective, what do I like to do? And it took a long time for me to get through it. But once I learned about being a travel advisor and what it was like, and I was like, oh, but I could like research and I could plan and I can help people. And my background as a librarian is like, check, check, check. The part for me is like learning how to be a business person, a salesperson, a marketer, because there's so many different elements. But the core of what being a travel advisor is not just booking vacations, but guiding and helping. I just thought this sounds like a lot of fun. And so I just jumped in and, been doing it since, goodness, last year, 2023.
Nice. Yeah. AJ, you're also an author, so you're used to the have to juggle all the hats to highlight and show things. Tell us, how did you get into doing travel though?
So mine is kind of like a tragic story. Okay, so I'm a storyteller, so I'm gonna tell you. So I had been planning a vacation for my family and two other families together. Right, this is before I was a travel agent, and so I was afraid. This is a Disney World, like all the moving parts and everything that has to do with planning a Disney vacation, right? And so I had planned vacations for me and my kids all the time, not a problem. But when it came to having two other families, I was worried that I was going to miss something or I was going to mess up something because, like there's extra moving parts in there. So I decided to recruit, hire, contact a travel agent, right? And I reached out to her. It sounded like a great deal. And I started asking her questions, right? Like, when are we doing this? When are we doing that? I'm used to do my own thing. And she will take forever to answer, like literally forever to answer. And I'm also a Visa card member. So, like once in a while they'll like announce specials. And we were going the week before Christmas, right? And it's a very busy week and it's really expensive. And there was a 35% off of your stay with that particular card if you use the card. And so as soon as I got that email, I messaged her and I said, hey, can you move us over here? We're just going to use my card to pay for all 3 rooms. That way we'll take care of it and save the 35% off. Because when you added up, saving it up, it was going to be about $1,400.
Yeah, 35% off of Disney's a lot.
Yes. And so we reached out to her and tell her what we were doing. Crickets. Got nothing. So finally she get back to me and she's like, there's only 1 room available. And I was just like, I reached out to you the day of the special, right? I reached out to you that day. So she wasn't able to get us into those rooms because I'm like, I'm not going to go stay on one resort and leave my friends, and my other families on the other one. And so we ended up just like biting the bullet and just pay for the full price. Then I asked her and I said, I want to be an annual pass holder. So can you guide me what to do? And she was so against it. She kept saying like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Just go on this vacation and then you can use those days, whatever, and like transfer them over and change them into the annual pass and like all this stuff. Like she explained to me what I needed to do. The week before we left for our trip, they paused the sale of annual passes. Remember how long it took for them to bring it back? They paused it. And so the money that I was going to use, that was going to be transferred over, that will make my whole annual pass like $300 total, was ruined. That plan was ruined. And I kept telling her, it's like, but as an annual pass holder, don't I get like a 10% off if I buy like the food? And she was like, yeah, but you want to wait until you're over there. And I was just like, but why would I wait for the whole trip to be over, right? When I could just like do it beforehand. And I even got on the phone and I called Disney and I told them, hey, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they were like, well, we can't because you're using a travel agent. And I was like, oh, I did not know that part, right? But I did know that she wasn't answering me whenever I will reach out. So long story short, we took her trip, we took her losses, right? And I swore that I will never, ever use a travel agent again. Because they don't know what they're doing. and to be honest, not all travel agents are created equal. Not all travel advisors take their job seriously and take their time to train and to learn and to experience. So my statement's still true. Not everybody will offer you what you need, right?
Right.
But I had a little bit of like chillax, like it happened. You're okay. It's okay. And so I was like, I am going to do the one thing she couldn't do for me. And I said, I'm going to become that person. I'm going to become that travel agent that is going to be there for her customers when they're stuck in the airport, when they are trying to figure it out what to eat at the park, were they trying to figure out what are the best bathrooms to use? Like I want to be that person for them. And I wanted to be that person that as soon as special will drop off, I will just go online and like try to find out if my customers could save up some money or get a better deal. And I was like, that's what I'm going to be
You
doing.
just slid that right through there, AJ. But people who aren't familiar with Disney, like, oh, I'll tell you which bathrooms to use where is actually a thing that happens if you go to Disney on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
My sister is up there right now visiting my other sister at the parks because they live up there. It's insane.
It is a big deal.
It is.
It is. And I would say that before you hire a travel advisor, please speak with them first to make sure that their services are what you're looking for. Have a conversation because, as AJ said, not all of them are created equal. If all they're doing is booking things for you and that's it, then they're not going to support you throughout the process.
Yeah.
What's the process here in Florida, Kristen, for that? I'm guessing it's different around the country. Texas, Florida, everybody's got something different. But did you have to go through some kind of certification, anything like that?
To become a travel advisor?
Yeah.
There's no formal certification, but there is a licensing requirement.
Okay.
So I am actually under a host agency, so I use their seller of travel number. But because I am based in Florida, I had to apply for my own kind of like independent agents under the state so I can operate as a travel advisor. So there's only a handful of states that have requirements like that. California is one, Florida is one. But certification is not required. I would say that if you see a travel advisor has certification, then that is a bonus. As I'm new, I'm actually working on one right now. I'm working on Certified Travel Associate through the Travel Institute.
Okay. And what does that kind of stuff entail?
So that one is very much about business ethics, business writing, communication, the art of selling, and selling different kinds of travel. If you have niches, if you do groups and whatnot. So I started it about a month ago. I am jumping right in and learning a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that, so go AJ. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
So what I was going to say is, because you both were doing something else and then you got into this, what changed to make you more creative? Because obviously you've both already mentioned several different ways of being creative and how you have to do this kind of stuff. What changes do you think anybody out there would have to think about? What's the difference in between being a traveler and doing your own research and picking a hotel and picking a whatever, and the creative process of becoming a travel advisor? And what are those creative things that you have to think about differently that way?
So I think they're very different things. When you are a traveler, when you are doing your own thing, right, you have a little bit more of a relaxation opportunity than when you are a travel agent, because there is not a single destination that I don't go now where I'm like wanted to make sure I have content. I want to make sure that I like check everything that they will offer to my customers. Is it a good destination? Like I don't stay at a hotel now without thinking, will this be some place that I will recommend my customers? Right. So it has changed. It when before, even for Disney destinations, before I used to say like, all you're doing in the room is sleeping. Right. Like you don't really need to have a fancy room. You need to stay in one of the deluxe resorts because all you're doing is sleeping. But then I stayed at the deluxe resort. Right. And then it was like, yeah, I'm still just sleeping, but I get all of this extra stuff. Right. And when I tell my customers, right, like, okay, let's talk about what you want for your vacation, right? You as a traveler, what do you want to experience? You want to come in to your room and have the room be like big and spacious where your kids are not on top of you like the whole time, then you need to stay on a different resort, right? I personally, like when I go now, it's like, okay, I have to make sure that where I'm staying is something that I can recommend to my customers. So I don't get to look at the options that I would have looked before, because I don't have that freedom, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know, so I have to, and I have to come up with ideas or new plans on how to execute a trip, right? Because, like, for example, I'm going for a training at the end of August. I will be in Florida at the end of August, and we are doing a training at sea on Carnival, right? And then we're gonna stop by NASA over there, and we were able to get approved to do a 1-day training at Sandals as well.
Okay.
So we're gonna be in our port day, but we're gonna go train at another destination while we are there, right? So to me, it's like if you are a regular traveler, you're just gonna get on the cruise, you're gonna go to port and lay on the beach and just like chill, right? And so in our case, we're like trying to figure out, okay, so instead of arriving there on Saturday, like we were gonna do, because we have another cruise tour that we're doing on Saturday, right? Like now we're gonna go there on Friday, and now we're trying to figure out, well, but if we travel on Friday, it's gonna be this much more money. We're gonna have an extra hotel night, and like you're looking at all that stuff. And the other agent that is going with me, we're on the same kind of boat, pun intended, because we're like thinking, I was like, okay, I will not stay on this hotel if I will not recommend it to my customers. So yes, we're going to pay a little bit extra, but we're going to have content that we're going to share with our customers. Whereas if I were just going with me and my kids, I will be just like, Motel 8, that's fine. I was like, we'll get more money for food, you know what I mean? And so it changes the whole thing and the way that I have to think about it. Like now I'm trying to figure it out how I'm gonna get from Fort Lauderdale to Miami at 11 o'clock at night, in a safe way, all this stuff. And so you just become
Bright line.
That's what I've heard. You just become a little bit more creative when before it was easier, if that makes sense to do.
How about it, Kristen? How did your creative juices start flowing?
Oh boy, I would say they're still like in motion here. I've always liked stories, and I do think being a storyteller does help you when you are marketing or talking about a travel, because you want to put the idea of this vacation, not just like where you go, but the experience that someone will have into their mind. And so I feel like it's something that I just want to work more on, but it really has kind of awakened the sense of like, well, how can I convey this trip in a way that helps them understand how they're going to enjoy their vacation? And sometimes there's travelers and they have different things. So you want to balance that and make sure that there's something fun for everybody who's traveling. And it's not just like a package deal, as AJ was saying, like you want to think about different things. Because I do think, yes, when we do personal travel, like even I'm going to Disney next week and I'm just like, oh, I have a fan and I have a water bottle, no big deal. But when I'm helping somebody, I am like, okay, what could they possibly do? And I have these thorough checklists and I get imaginative and I'm like, okay. And then I want to mention travel insurance because like I want to cover every single side. So it just kind of unlocks, this idea of what is possible, good and bad. And then like mitigate that because you want them to have an amazing time and you want them to come back saying, this was great, I want to do more. So as AJ says, when you go and you do those site visits and you like explore, I'm excited I get to tour the Icon of the Seas very soon. Yeah. And then like I feel like having that personal experience, having these ideas in mind when you are talking to clients and you're trying to put together a vacation they enjoy, it just really unlocks that creative side to you.
Yeah.
So now tell me, we're doing this show at the end of July, which is the end of the travel season for some people. And people are going to be like, Bob, what in the heck? Tell us what advantages you get by thinking now instead of for your future trips and doing like, how do you guys as advisors figure out what you can do to help people with future stuff? Like how far out in the future should I really want to go to Egypt in 2027 for the eclipse. It would be amazing. But what do you guys do about that? How do you, as advisors, figure out with your clients what's the limits? Are there limits?
So I think the main thing for me in particular is that you build those relationships with people. When you get to know them and get to know what they want to do, what they want to experience, you are a partner that is walking right there with them, right? And you are able to, like, one of the things that I love as a single mom, right, was the fact that I learned how to vacation on a single income, right? I'm the sole provider in my house. I've been the sole provider for the last almost 12 years. And I have taken more vacations now, just me with the kids, than I ever did when I was married. Okay. And so to me, the fact that I was able to figure it out that I can pay it off little by little rather than it's like, oh, the trip is $10,000 and I'm going in 2 years. I was like, I don't have $10,000. Yeah, but you have $25 today and you can do 25 next week, right? And so like you can start working with people. But if you don't know what they want, if you don't put yourself out there, like pretty much, you're not gonna know. You're not gonna know. And I think building the relationships and having those open channels of communications with the people that you know and the people that are following you, like social media is one of my biggest tools to get my leads. Um, if you don't build those relationships, you're just not gonna know how you can help them. Because anybody, I have tons of my friends right now who are on vacations and they didn't book with me. Imagine the horror.
Ah,
I was just like, oh, you went to Italy? Who knew? Like, I could help you, right? And it was like, oh, we booked direct. I was like,
That's
yeah,
usually what happens. Like, I don't need. I just book a flight, book a hotel. I'm done.
right. I'm like,
Yeah.
we
yeah,
are
no.
here for you. We are complimentary to you. You don't pay us a penny to get this done for you, but you do have our experience to go along the way with you, right? And so when I get to talk to all this, it's like I'm so vocal about travel, and then I still get people who's like, I did not know. I did not know that you were a travel agent. And I'm like, yeah, you really thought I was just like traveling all over the place just for no reason, just because I want to leave my kids alone at home. Like, come on. Because that's the thing with me, I'm a single mom, right? My kids are old enough now, but that was my thing. It's like I'm not just like abandoning the kids. I'm working, right? And I was like, and I'm working and I'm doing these trips so that I can tell you better whenever you come to me for your vacations. But yeah, one of the main things, it's like post out there, let people know what you're able to do, and be very vocal about it, right? And they gotta see your face, which it's not a thing I like a lot. But they gotta see your face. They gotta know who you are, and know that you're just like one big corporation. So at Happily Ever After Travel, we are actually called story makers. We're not, like we're travel advisors, but once you're helping people, it's like one of our story makers will talk to you, because that's what we're doing. We're building stories with people, right? We're helping them build memories. And so to me, that it would just like hit home in a lot of ways, because right, like that's what I do. I help people build their own stories that they'll be able to tell, like, for many generations to go. But the one thing that I do a lot is whenever I have the opportunities to talk to people, I don't do business cards that much because people throw away business
Yeah,
cards.
no.
But I try to get as many people as I can on my social media. And it's very different. um you see different things on Instagram than you do on Facebook and then you do on TikTok. TikTok is all my goofy stuff. Like, you want to see me
Good.
making a fool of myself, you go to TikTok and you'll see me with my Mickey ears and doing the whole thing. That's where you'll find me over there. And then you'll have on my Facebook, right? Like if you want to go on a safari or something like that, it's a little bit more, calm down, Jessica, rather than like happy, chirpy, crazy Jessica TikTok. But it's still the same. I attract different customers on different
Mhm.
platforms, and so it's just trying to make sure that they understand how I can help them, and that it doesn't matter when it is like there are calendars, yes, for some things. Like Disney only opens their calendars for a certain amount of time, ahead of time before you can book it. But then there are other destinations, like any cruise lines, they're booking already for 2026. So you can start making your cruise payments right now and, have it paid off way before you go on your vacation. And then you can get all your excursions and, all the other stuff that you want as the date gets closer.
Yeah.
How about that, Kristen? How far out in advance are you going to help me schedule that cooking class?
The cooking class.
Oh, that's what my wife and I, that's what we do when we go on trips. Every place we go, we schedule a cooking class.
Are we doing this in Egypt? You want to learn mashi?
I don't know. I would think so. Yes. I mean, we just came back from Tanzania and Ethiopia and Kenya, and it was, we did this whole cooking thing. It was really amazing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I will say, Bob, that as AJ mentioned, there are booking windows. So even if 2027 is too far out, it's not too early to start talking about your vacation and building what that looks like. I've actually been to Egypt 5 times because my husband is from there. Did you know that, Bob?
I did not. That's amazing. Nice.
Yeah. So again, having that personal experience can make lots of recommendations and build an idea. So then once that booking window is open, you could just submit that deposit, secure your payments, keep going until final payment. And then you don't have to worry about anything else. You just make the payments, pack your bags, go have fun. So it's not too early to plan. It's not too early to start thinking about all the fun that you're going to have in Egypt.
That would be. I'm just saying, solar eclipse over the pyramids. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And there are lots of places nearby that you could stay.
Yeah.
Overseeing the pyramids.
Yeah.
Wait, you can't stay inside of the pyramids?
So that's, I definitely need a travel advisor to get me inside of the pyramid. That would be awesome.
You'll be cursed forever. You cannot do that. See, my writer just came out of there.
That is awesome. That is an awesome thing, AJ. So tell me about as we just casually mentioned all this stuff. What equipment are you actually using and doing? Obviously you've got an internet connection because you're doing a lot of these things. You've mentioned a couple of different apps. Is there a specific app that you guys are using as travel advisors that's different than what I would be pulling up for my TripIt or whatever I'm using? Or I don't even know if TripIt is still a thing. I used to use it. Is TripIt still a thing? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't. Pre-pandemic, I used to use it, and I just got out of the habit after that for some reason. But tell me, what kind of technology are you guys using, and what is it that might be special for you to use that the average person isn't aware of or using?
I can think of one thing that I use. It's actually my itinerary builder. It's through Travify, and I use that to build the itinerary, send a proposal, and then once the client approves it, it becomes their full itinerary where I put things like packing lists, their final documents. They get a day-by-day breakdown of what it looks like, confirmation numbers, so they don't have to be digging through emails. Everything is just in one location. I love it. So
that sounds
use
nice.
that. It's also, my form builder. So I've been doing a lot of tinkering with it, but I enjoy Travify a lot. Oh, and I forgot to mention, clients, they would get their own trip planning app that's free that they download where they can see their itinerary, and you could download it offline. So even if you don't have internet access where, you might be
out in the bush,
you're in the middle of a pyramid,
Yeah.
You might not have the internet, but you'll be able to look up your itinerary.
That is cool. What kind of stuff are you using, AJ?
So we use Travify as well, but we also do the old paper mail, snail mail kind of thing.
Really?
Because and I feel like at first I thought it was like silly for us to do that because we literally have to go to Canvas and create their itinerary, make it look pretty and everything for them, specifically for their trip. And I thought that seems like a lot, but the amount of comments I get from people when they receive their packages.
Yeah, my wife would love that.
Yeah. We got a package and it had name tags and it had buttons and it has maps and all this stuff. And it's just the fact that they get to hold it is like another little thing. I personally love it now. I didn't love it at first, but I love it now because I hate doing things electronically all the time. My kids can testify that I have over 60,000 emails that I haven't opened. And so to me, sending another email and another notification when I already have like a bazillion of them pending, and it seems a little too much sometimes. And whereas if I have the paper, I can just like check, just get it done, and it has like a different satisfaction for me. So we usually tend to do both. You know, I do.
I
Which
think I got to get my wife together with you, AJ. She's very much along those things. She has the paper notes and she writes on them and does all the stuff. I'm like, I'm on WhatsApp. I'm just like, yeah, okay, where are we going next? What are we doing here? Talking to who's ever in the group chat about where we're supposed to be going, and I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, that's usually what when Christopher and I travel, my boyfriend, when we travel, I usually just send him a text message that says, this is what we're doing at this time, at this time, at this time, and at this time, and then he just has it in there. But for me, I don't know if it's the writer in me, I just love to actually hold the paper like the whole time. I just like love looking at the map, right? Like I'll get so frustrated sometimes with my phone. It's just like scrolling and doing the whole thing. It's like, it's not working. It's frozen. It's not working. And the paper is like, here's a paper. And so it's not very advanced, but it's one of the tools that we use. And so far we get really great feedback from people, which is the reason why we just keep doing it. You know,
How about you, Kristen? I saw you like, yeah, wait, no, yeah. Tell me.
No, I do also send their final documents. And I was just going to say, I do agree that both are very good to have for different reasons. Because like sometimes it's nice to be able to check things off or to physically have it with you. And then sometimes you're out on the go and you want something right away. So both can be good is where I'm.
That is awesome. So here's the tech question that we always ask everybody. What is the one piece of tech that you really want that make it up as well? You can't do time travel because especially as a travel agent, that is not fair.
Wow.
But beyond that, what kind of a tech would you want? Because if you can book me for like, a week in the Jurassic, I might be tempted.
You want to become a snack.
Oh, no. No.
There's no travel insurance that can protect you from that. That's all I'm saying. It's not covered.
We have multiple movies.
I can't get travel insurance for a Tyrannosaurus? Okay, fine.
You cannot.
And we have quite a few movies to kind of show us what could and likely
why we don't do
will
that.
You shouldn't do it. Yeah, there's just like a bazillion movies, so don't.
Okay.
Just don't. I don't know. I think sometimes it depends on how busy I am, that I wish I had a way that I could just get information from all the providers all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I get that.
Each different vendor has a specific way of doing things. So you can be quoting Royal Caribbean and it looks very different than Carnival, right? And so it took me a while to for my brain to just comprehend that there are the same thing, it just looks different, very different, right? And when you don't like change, like me, it makes it really hard going from one cruise line to another. Same with Universal and Disney. Their platforms are so different when you're booking that you have to create the packages in a very different way. And people don't understand that sometimes, and they just I don't know, demand to have the same thing from everybody else. Well, this looks different. Well, because it's a different vendor.
Yeah. I have to use a note-taking app to make all these different notations from the suppliers as to their booking windows or cancellation policies, or just even where to book or what information is needed at the time of booking.
Yeah.
So I use Notion, and I have a whole just categorized list of things that I'm still building as I go, because everyone is so different.
And you don't want to miss it.
Right.
You have specific windows and you have specific documents that you are required to submit at a certain time, right? And you want to make sure you don't miss them, but each one of them is different.
And the visas, and wait, this visa is good for X amount of days, and wait, you only get to use it once when you go across the border, but you're going across 3 times, and wait, what? Yeah, no, this is why we use people, folks.
Exactly. And it's going to get even more fun next year with Real ID and EJS and
like,
authorizations.
Going back to the technology part, right? Like we have a CRM that we use, and it sends like automated emails to our customers with like, this one was funny to me because it literally says on the header, important dates, right? Like it means like this important is like the first word in there. And people like me who has 60,000 emails, when they get the 60,001, they just like don't open it. Right. And so I had customers 2 days before the cruise, right? Like they're like, I need a birth certificate. And I'm like, well, you technically you needed it like a year ago when you booked it. But yeah, you need it before you can get on the ship in 2 days. So can you get it? And they're like,
Does my passport, wait, do I really need it? If I've got a passport, doesn't that count instead of a birth certificate?
Yes.
Okay. Man, I'm like, I'm learning stuff now tonight.
But it is funny to me that like they will completely disregard. Like I had a customer who was like saying like, okay, well, I have the birth certificate that has the little feet on it, from the hospital. I was like, that's not a birth certificate. That is just a little keepsake that the hospital gives you. It's not a legal binding document. You cannot use it. Right. Like, and Carnival, I believe Carnival website actually says you cannot use that in there, but Royal Caribbean only asked for the birth certificate, right? But the other one actually has like, one of them has like the exact wording in there that you cannot use the keepsake certificate, because I guess they've had a lot of people trying to use it. And like,
just get your passport, folks.
Yeah, like common
just get a passport.
Not even it, it's not even the word that I'm looking for. It's just like, you just have to be a little bit more curious when you're doing. And a lot of people don't have any knowledge when it comes to traveling. I had no knowledge in a lot of the things that had to do with traveling before, because I grew up not traveling. I didn't took my first vacation until I was 22.
That leads me to my next question. We always ask people is, who was your mentor that helped you get into this? What did they do? Someone who inspired you to like, okay, yeah, no, I can do this, or helped you out, or whatever. What is it that someone helped you with that got you like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can figure out how to get into this field. I can figure out my skills are a good fit for this.
I just tend to. Have you read the book, The 5-Second Rule?
Yes.
Okay. Bob, have you read it?
No.
No. Okay. No. So basically what it says is like our brains are wired in a way that after you give your brain 5 seconds, it will change your mind and will talk you out of doing something that you were intending to do.
I think mine's broken.
Say like if you want to work out in the morning, right? You count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and when you get to the end, when you get to 1, you like launch yourself like a rocket from your bed and just go for it. Don't think about it. Don't talk to yourself. Don't something like that. Okay, that's how I live my life. And so when I decided, and it literally was just a decision, when I decided that I was going to be a travel agent, that I was going to do better than what they had done to me priorly, I literally started looking online for host agencies where I could apply. And I found one that is local here in Allen, which is the one that I'm working with. And so I reached out to the owner and I said, I think I will be a good fit for the company. I love traveling. I see that you guys are really heavy on Disney. I love Disney. I live, breathe, bleed Disney, right? So I'm like, I'm your girl. And they're like, we're not hiring. And I was just like, okay, well, if you do end up hiring, because I literally just reached out of the blue. I said, if you do end up hiring, let me know. And so they contacted me the next day and they were like, okay, so we're not hiring, but let's have an interview. Let's talk. Nice. And I said, okay. So we had a Zoom call, and it was the owner and 2 of their regular trainers. And by this point, the owner had already gone into my social media. She was like looking at who I was, what I was doing. Like, I own a business, my kids, because I'm very open on social media. And so she looked them up. And so when I got on the call, she was like, okay, I see that you have a business here. I see that you're doing this and you're doing this and you do this. When do you think you have time to do this? Because it's very time consuming. And I was like, oh, I don't sleep, so I can totally do it. I'm like, I'm good. I can totally do it. And so we just had this awesome conversation. And she said, like I said, we're not hiring, but I do think that you're a very great fit for our company, and we want to have you on board. And so I got hired that night. And so
Nice.
it
That's a
happened.
very good thing. How about you, Kristen?
I wouldn't say that I had a mentor per se. I kind of jumped in on my own, but when I joined my host agency, I felt like I got a lot of support. Within 6 months, I was at their annual conference and I started talking to people, getting to know, making connections. And I feel like it's the peer network, peer support that I get a lot that's really helped me grow to be where I am. And I even have a colleague who's under the same host agency, and we meet probably at least once a month to just catch up, see where we are. She's the one that introduced me to Notion. I give her all my workflows because that's how I am. I'm very process oriented. And so we just kind of support each other because we started roughly at the same time. So we're both newbies, but we both bring different perspectives. Her background, she's owned several small businesses already. And she has been like a bookkeeper, an accountant, and then me, libraries, and reference and research. So just kind of that mutual support has been very helpful.
So I've got one question we always ask everybody also is, we all know you guys are both successful at this. You guys are both independent, women run agencies. Awesome. Great stuff. No, I'm very happy with that. That's why we have you on here. What's the thing you failed at that you then had to recover from and figure out and you did better at after? Because you guys both got good successes already.
I don't know if I would qualify this as like a fail, but something that I am working on, that I feel like I could be doing better. And it's keeping that relationship. Like AJ mentioned, we have CRMs, customer relation, management modules. But I would really like to be better about checking in with people, even when they don't have something booked with me. And not because I'm like, oh, I need your business right away, but because I want them to know I'm still here. I care. So, I feel like I'm constantly shifting gears between like I'm doing certifications. I am working on social media, which is probably my Achilles heel because I am I don't really put out too much stuff about myself. And so now suddenly having to feel like I'm on camera, it's suddenly like daunting to me. So my technology thing would be like, if I could just have an equipment that would capture all this video, put a wonderful montage, and then just be released out there in the internet, that would be amazing for me. But I feel like I want to be better about connecting and keeping those connections, because as a librarian, I feel like I'm here when you need me, kind of. I feel like you understand that, Bob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People come, they have a question, they get what they need, and then I might not see them for a long time. But here I am in another customer-oriented field, but where you want them to feel like they are cared about, that you're there for them. And so I wouldn't say I failed, but more like I want to work on improving that. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important.
Tell us, AJ.
So I had early, when I first started, right? Like I said, Disney was my thing. I knew it like without even thinking about it. I took my Disney Call of Knowledge, got my certification, got all of that taken care of. I was good to go with my Mickey ears. When I had customers reach out to me if I could do a cruise for them, I was like, absolutely, right? I hop in on Royal Caribbean, and it's great because it has information, right? Like you just click a couple buttons and you're good, unless they have more than 2 people in their room. Mm. In which case you get a curveball thrown at you because now you have to book it a different way. Well, if you have 7 people traveling, that's even worse because they don't have a room that will accommodate 7 people on your website where you can just like put 7 people. Like, as a matter of fact, I think it caps you out at 4, and then you're like, okay, I can only send 4 of you. So, the other 3 are gonna stay home. And so I had this fear, which I like to say I don't have it anymore, of not wanting to be a burden for people, right? And so when I started, there's about 65 agents in our agency. 4 of those are trainers, and you have the owner, which also trains as well, right? And so usually when you first start with the company, they assign you a trainer. You reach out to them for any questions that you have, and they'll help you, guide you through whatever you have going on. I had an issue reaching out because they're too busy, and it's just me again with more questions, and like, like I'm gonna figure it out myself, and the Google and tell me doesn't work like I thought it did. Like, you can Google until you die, and sometimes the answer is not gonna be there.
Yeah.
And
Kristen and I are kind of familiar with that whole idea.
Just a little bit.
yes, and so to me it was like, I have to use the phone. I have to actually talk to my trainer about this problem and let them know I have no idea what I'm doing. I need help. And it was really hard for me to get to the point where I just like message her, and it can be like 10:30 at night, and it can be 5 a.m. in the morning. It's like, I know you're not awake, but I need to send this before I forget. And so I will send the question. Now I feel more comfortable like that. And I will say sometimes like, yeah, it's me again. I know you mentioned this to me before, but I don't remember, and I don't want to advise the customer the wrong information. So can you remind me? Can you refresh my memory or something? And so at first, that sale of it was 7 people that wanted to go on that cruise, and I ended up losing the sale. They ended up booking direct because I had no idea how to do it, and they ended up getting on the phone and contacting Carnival directly. And when I tell you I have heavy anxiety about using the phone, I have really bad anxiety. Like, I don't care if it's my mom calling. It gives me the same feeling. Like, it's like, oh my God, I have to answer. And so to me, being able to get on the phone and talk to the provider and ask the questions that I needed to ask was a no-no. Was like, I just can't do it, right? So baby steps, the agency owner ended up giving me like a script, like a basic script, right? And she's like, so when you get on the phone, you ask this and this and this and this to the person that you're talking to, right? And when they are like helping, and this is like the providers, right? So like, you'll talk to Carnival and you'll tell them, okay, I need a cruise for this day for this many people. They like to stay on a room like this. And so you'll give them that information and they'll be able to help you. Once I had that down, I was like, okay, I can do this, because I know it's not going to be a conversation like, how are you doing? You having a good day or anything like that. It was just like, right, answer my questions, bye. And so it made it much easier. But I had to learn that the hard way, because of that particular scenario. It's like, I don't want to be that scared again trying to help a customer. So
that makes sense. That's a good thing.
I still won't answer though, so don't call me.
So last question for you guys is, we know you've already made a career out of this. If somebody else out there is like, hey, I like traveling. These 2 women just did that. How does somebody get into this as a field to like do it as a business?
So I advise people all the time to do their research and find a host agency that will help them, because there is already a lot of opportunities out there. I'm not going to mention companies that literally all they do is like work like a 1-800 number. They have no idea what they're doing. They usually connect the customer directly to the vendor, but it's booking through them, so they get commission, but they have no idea about anything that's going on. So same like if they end up going to one of the big chains that sell travel, and they usually get like a big discount in bulk. I don't know if we can say names or not, but they usually get like big discounts when they book for people, right? So say like Costco, right? Okay. They have a travel section, and they offer really great prices. So whenever someone comes in, they was like, well, they will give it to me cheaper than you. And I said, well, go for it. Like, if you want to save money, book with them. And I said, I'm not your girl. And I said, if you want to like troubleshoot or anything, dial the 1-800 number and see if they know how to book Genie Plus. Because like, you're not going to contact me and be like, I need you to help me with the stuff that I booked through them because they were cheaper. Right. And I said, they're cheaper for a reason. And that's because they don't go through all the trainings that we do. And so I normally tell people, look for a host agency, an actual host agency that will help you to train, that will provide opportunities for you to get familiar with the destinations that you want to book. If you don't feel comfortable with booking like all inclusives or cruises or anything like that, focus on Disney. Like, whatever is your forte, like, don't try
There
to.
must be a whole segment of the travel industry that is just Disney.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yes.
I met some of them like that, and I was just like, really? That's all you do? I was like, tell me more about this, because it is surprising to me, but it is.
Oh, I can picture it. Oh, yeah.
So we went to California last month at the beginning of June, and we had a training Disney on AED, and so the people that I was sitting on the table, that's all they did, 100% Disney destinations, and I was just like, I sell some Disney, but it's not my bread and butter, right? Like, as a matter of fact, like, cruises is more what I book most of the time, and so to me, it was really amazing to hear from these women. They were mostly women, and that
Good.
we're talking about like how they make their whole career just literally being a travel agent that specializes on Disney destinations. And it was a great experience for me to hear from them. But the way they started, right? Like, they started with different companies, different agencies and things like that. And they all had one thing in common, and it is you find a host that will provide these opportunities for growth for you, so that you don't feel like you're alone, that you have to figure it out on your own. And the cost is also very different than when you buy a franchise of travel. It's a very low end on the cost, because it's usually for like administrative purposes rather than, for anything else. And so all of those little factors in there. Oh, and I'm very blunt, if you haven't noticed. I do tell people, if you are not able to work at a McDonald's, you will not be able to work as a travel agent. And the reason why is because you have to have customer service skills. You will be dealing with people who will want you, and this happened to me, to bring a whole cruise to Galveston for them to get on it because they want to go on a Disney cruise when there's no Disney cruises on that season. And for me to explain to this customer, is like, that's not how it works. She's like, well, then why do we need a travel agent for it? And I was like, obviously you don't. that's one of the things. You have to be patient, because you never know who you're going to be talking to on the other end, and there's some customers you never book again. And there's some customers who you want to have that relationship and keep going, and they just keep coming back.
I will say, when I first looked into being a travel advisor, Bob, you can imagine what I did. I immediately started researching, and I found host agency reviews run by Stephanie Lee, whose family has been in the travel industry for a long time. By coincidence, I ended up joining the host agency that her family runs. I did not realize it at the time, but I did a lot of research, because they have information about all the different host agencies and what they do, what split you have commission wise, the cost, things like that. And I interviewed a few of them before deciding where I wanted to go. I liked being able to have my own hours, because I do work full time still. This is something I do part time. Some host agencies, they require certain minimums and spending, and I didn't want to feel burdened or pressured. I want to help people because I'm helping, not because I'm meeting a sales quota. So I would say do your research, but from a librarian perspective, I would say start at a place like Host Agency Reviews that has a reputable reputation, has been around for a long time, and can give you the accurate information you need, because Google is not always the...
Google's not your friend.
Yeah.
Not. Okay, I think you guys were both amazing. We already blew through a whole hour. I know we could keep going. I have lots of questions, but I think we need to end this one here. And I think we surprised a few people out there about how much detailed information there is just about this one topic. If you want to get in touch with one of our two guests, their information is in the show notes. And as always, you can reach out to us, creationstation@broward.org, and we'll forward your stuff along. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you on Thursday.